So, question 14 now, as we move into the chapter on space. And every chapter has some sort of intriguing, hey, I've never looked at it this way before, angle. And that angle for me in this chapter was, if you had asked me before this chapter, what does the ideal space look like? What does the ideal school look like? The ideal business, the ideal church, the ideal, you name it. What does it look like? I would say, like heaven, an integrated space. But he makes the point that in America, where white people are at least for now, in the majority, if every space is an integrated space, then every space will have a white majority, and therefore there won't be any spaces that are uniquely Black or uniquely Latinx or Asian or Korean. And so that was an interesting thought. And it was also interesting to me that he's questioning whether integration of schools is the ideal. That maybe equally resourced Black schools are a really important resource in the Black community. What do you think?
I think it's interesting because these things always come back to changing the mindsets of people. If white teachers do not expect Black kids to be as successful as white kids, then an integrated environment isn't healthy for Black kids. When you have more Black teachers in a Black school, for example, who would expect that every child would excel, and that's just the expectation. So it's all about changing people's mindset. But what I took from this chapter is that Black spaces have value. And I was sharing with you that one time in the social hall many years ago,
the social hall of our church.
Where some of me and my Black friends were gathered around a table just talking. And one of our white congregation members came over and pointed that out. What are you all doing over here? It was almost as if that person was threatened by the fact that there was a group of us gathering together. And I also said that in high school, in the lunchroom, we did the exact same thing. You just meet with your friends. Those spaces are empowering. Those spaces are encouraging. Those spaces give Black people an opportunity to take off the mask and be authentically who they are. And so often in integrated spaces, we cannot do that. There's always an expectation. You're always wondering who's looking and you know, are you saying the right things? Are you being perceived correctly? And so there's value in the integrated spaces. And the other dynamic is separate does not always mean equal in terms of school. And I'd argue even in terms of some churches, separation, both spaces have to be equally resourced so that children have the same access in Black schools that they would have in white schools. And unfortunately, that isn't the world that we live in. So I think integration is always the goal, but realistically, we have to value Latinx spaces, Black spaces, and to not see them as anti-white spaces, or this is a place where white supremacy is going to thrive. That is not always the situation, and to see it from a more positive standpoint. I feel like this book is going to completely come down on the side of other people's culture has value. Other people's beauty is just as beautiful as European beauty. And to see that in everything that you see and not be intimidated by Black spaces.
That's good. Let's talk